Shadow Chamber. Shadow Chamber started in 2000, more or less, to about 2004, 2005. Again, I don't know how much you know about South Africa, but you probably do know that South Africa has produced nearly half the world's gold output in the last 100 years, especially around Johannesburg. It used to be full of a lot of mine dumps, old mining buildings. Most of, unfortunately, got torn down. But this building didn't, called the Shadow Chamber Building. The Shadow Chamber Building was a 3-story building. It had long, long corridors, and off the corridor were little small rooms that I referred to as chambers. And I worked in this place during this time, photographing the people in the Shadow Chamber Building. It was originally an old mining building that they used as an office. And I think some of the labor stayed there, I'm not sure. It was an interesting experience. The roof was broken. There was a lot of water coming in during the rainy season. There were animals everywhere. The electricity didn't work. And people came and went. Sometimes they stayed for a while. Sometimes they spent one night and left. Sometimes he took a good picture of somebody, and the next day he was gone. Like this picture. I met this man one time, took this picture within 5 minutes. People sometimes say, do you know the people? Well, just remember one thing, everybody. The camera doesn't have any ears. It doesn't matter how well I get to know anybody. That doesn't help so much, because what I'm doing is about visual relationships. I'm not really working about stories or emotions. The camera is a very scientific instrument. And I got to use it not only artistically, I've got to use it scientifically. Another sad story. 3 or 4 weeks after I took this picture, I found this man dead in the same place that I took the picture. During this time, my work also became very sculptural. And this was one of the first photographs where the work started to show increasing relationships to sculpture, obviously, as well as photography. But it's a very sculptural photograph, and it's called Head Inside Shirt. This was on the first floor of the Shadow Chamber Building. It was where the school was. This is where children were taught, or weren't taught, I guess, or where they stayed during the day. And here's a rabbit, and look here, that looks like the rabbit's ears, and so does this down here, and so does that up there, and this looks like that, and that looks like that. So there are all these forms coming together in a moment faster than you can blink. Here's another tough one, Mr. Cat. What about this stuff up here? What's that all about? What is that telling you up there? Is this telling you something down here? But what's this telling you up here? What type of place are we in? He was on the other side of the room. And out came him with his little cat. So this is what I would refer to as a transition photograph, taken in, I think, 2001, 2002. The drawings again, the portrait. So there's this relationship between the drawings and the portrait that keep coming out in the early part of this century. Puppies in fish tanks. Under the moon. Kitchen table. See that? That's real tough. Small and fast. It's hard to get him right. This child was a bit delinquent. I would guess that word would be the best way to describe him. His mom couldn't control him. I don't know what happened to his dad, but his mom was an alcoholic and didn't really pay much attention to him. And he had a bad habit. In the evenings, he would run down the corridor, the long corridor of the shadow chamber building, whether it was with a brick or rock or fist, and knock on everybody's door and wake them up in the middle of the night. They were about ready to kill him. And don't kid yourself, people got killed in this place plenty of times. The police wouldn't go here. The police were scared of the place. I think they thought it was haunted. I don't know. Anyway, they were about ready to kill him or throw him out the window, and I said, well, let's figure out what to do. So we went down to the local prison. I took some people down there, so somebody had an idea, and they got this. Do you know what this is? The olden days, that's called a ball and a chain. And see that? They put the ball on the chain. They took this thing here and put it here, around the sock at night. And then there was peace and quiet in the shadow chamber buildings. Prowling. This man thought he was a cat. Guess what he did? He would go from one piece of furniture to the next, and when he did this, he would go, meow, meow. The essence of the picture comes here. See that? See that? That's something that you can't predict. It's something that opens up that photograph to, I don't know, makes it real in some way, makes it authentic. Right there. Mom and Dad, scared puppy. I don't want to tell you, we could have a lot of bad stories here and we're going to run out of time, so I won't tell you that one. It's not a happy ending. Pig on rope. That's one of the few outside photographs in this shadow chamber project, and that was taken on the outside of the building. This picture, the relationship again, sculpture, drawings, boom. When that cat looks down, boom. If you take the cat away, and I took the picture, it's like an installation. It's not about photography in some way. That's about the moment. This was a young man's room. I thought this was quite clever, quite erotic. I don't know what's going through this thing's mind. You can see the sculptural aspects of this photograph. There's Mr. Rabbit. On the basement, in the shadow chamber building, on the first floor in the basement, was a place where ducks and geese were kept. And this man was in charge of the ducks and the geese on the first floor of the basement. And it was quite a, I think this thing here is very, very beautiful painting in its own way. Very layered photograph. You see a sculptor, here's the photography, here's painting, integration of those three things. That was the first basement floor of the shadow chamber building. Towards the end of the project, I did a lot of these very close-up still lives. The basement floor, there was another basement floor, which I only found towards the end of the project in the building. And it was a place where they either imprisoned people, if people died, they wanted to hide people. They kept them in the second floor of the basement. And this drawing here is called Funeral Rites. I think many people ended up in this part of the basement and never came up again. This is the last photograph from this series. In September, I think in 2004, I guess it was, I had been traveling for some time, and I came back to the shadow chamber building, and I saw nothing was left. They tore it down. And in the rubble, I found this door that I used to go in and out of the shadow chamber building. I always tell people it was quite a symbolic, metaphoric. A door for me personally is where I went from light to dark, from dark to light, light to dark. I have to say that I'm not really quite sure what light means anymore, or what dark means anymore. I wouldn't even want to categorize them anymore. They're all part of the same thing.